Hi, welcome to Missing Link. This is my second video. I just got off an Uber bender, which means I drove Uber for a lot of hours and trying to make up some cash and whatnot. So you're seeing me in the raw. I feel like if you're going to know me and you're going to hear my personal story, it's got to start from the raw. So a little bit about me. I work, 90% of my time is spent working with the LGBT community, solving issues of homelessness, suicide reduction, behavioral health issues, criminal law issues, anything and everything you can think of that happens behind the scenes in the not so fun side of LGBT. A lot of what we see in the media is, fun and parties and rainbows and celebration, and that's great, but when it comes to the disparities and the really harsh stuff side of LGBT, I work a lot with that. But my work is really rewarding. It's my passion. It's what I wake up for in the morning, because I work in rural communities, mostly. That's my area. And the reason why I like that is I get to work with the professionals and people that haven't not ever been exposed to LGBT before and what that means, and get to educate them and provide training to bring them over, not over to the other side, so to speak, but say, is it so much about whether LGBT identities are right and wrong, or is it more important to not do harm and to help people? And so a lot of what I do in my daily work is just that, reducing problems and solving issues to help people understand a little bit better so that less harm is done and save people's lives. If I had it my way, the reason why I wake up in the morning is my life's purpose is to touch people's lives, empower people far beyond my reach for long after I'm dead. And so I feel like this video and Missing Link page is really important to get my story out there, because I think it can save a lot of people's lives. So for those of you that know me and some of you don't, I'm a transgender man. I was born biologically female and I transitioned about 10 years ago. And it's been an interesting adventure. People say, oh, well, that must be why you do LGBT work. I'm like, no, that's not necessarily true. I have an education. I have a couple college degrees, and I've done a lot of different things. I just found that seeing the change and the positive change that I can impact in the world of LGBT communities is really what empowers me to get up in the morning. I grew up about a half an hour outside of Death Valley, California, in a little town called Newberry Springs. Most people know Barstow. Barstow is about 30 or 40 minutes away. I grew up really poor. I'm a first-generation college student. My mom was a waitress homemaker, and my dad was a gardener. He thought he couldn't work for other people, so he thought it would be a grand idea to move us to the middle of the desert to start a gardening company. Because, it seems genius to want to grow grass in the middle of nowhere in the desert. So, anyway, it wasn't such a bright idea. So I woke up when I was about 3 or 4 years old in an 8-foot camper in the middle of the desert, and surrounded by little bushes and little purple hills and sand. And as far as the eye can see, my nearest neighbor was a couple miles away. I didn't have a lot of kids to play with or anything like that. I wasn't exposed to the outside world. We didn't have TV. My dad had a 7th grade education. One story I usually share is that we didn't have money for food, so my dad taught me how to shoot a rifle when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and we would go out and hunt coyotes and jackrabbits, and my dad would skin them and clean them and then take them home and make me promise that I wouldn't tell my mom that it was really jackrabbit, and tell her it was chicken. And in fact, it wasn't until my 20s that I told her the truth that this is what happened. And that's how we survived. And so it wasn't okay to be different. It wasn't okay to, be different. I grew up in a very religious family. My mom was Holy Roller Pentecostal. My dad was Jehovah's Witness. And later on, my stepfather, after my mom remarried, was Mormon. So I had the whole spectrum of 12 hours of church on Sundays, and seminary before school each day, and youth groups every week. And so I was what was considered a nice little Mormon girl, right? But that's not who I was on the inside. I knew from the age of probably about 4 years old. I went to a baby shower with my mom, and it was the first time I'd been around other kids. And I remember standing at the edge of the lake, and all the kids were going swimming, and all the little girls were on one side, and all the little boys were on the other. And I didn't know which side to go to. I remember standing there thinking, well, do I go to the little girls' side, the little boys' side? Like, I guess since the boys take off their shirts and the little girls have water weenies on, then that's what I'll do. So I put on water weenies and took off my shirt and jumped in the lake. And all the kids started laughing, and all the moms were laughing, and my mom came over and yanked me out of the lake and said, you know, girls don't do that. Put on your shirt. Put on your shirt. And it was kind of like I was shocked. Like, what do you mean, like, girls don't take off their shirts? Like, is that what I am? And I remember riding in the car on the way home. I just remember feeling embarrassed because everybody was laughing and I didn't know why and pointing. And my mom looked at me and said, did something bad happen to you? You know, or, you know, you realize you're a girl, right? And I said, well, what does that mean exactly? And she says, well, instead of, you know, dad looks like this. And she explained what my dad looked like. And I look like this. You're going to grow up to look like me. You're not going to grow up to look like him as much as you're going to grow up to look like me. I was mortified. I said, I can't have boobs and a butt and all of that. Like, I remember being 4 or 5 years old going, this can't happen to me. But it wasn't okay to talk about it because that meant that there was something wrong with me. That meant that I was different and I wasn't supposed to be that way and I was supposed to be happy. So I suppressed those feelings for years. I didn't come out until I was about 22 years old. So I lived a lot of life in between 4 years old of knowing that I was different, but not coming out until I was about 22 years old. I've been married. I have she's going to be a 16-year-old daughter. I'm married now, and so there's just a lot to fill in, and I couldn't do that in one video. But I appreciate you sharing this time with me, and stick around. I want to share more on kind of where I'm coming from and whatever else. Thank you.